What's up, everybody? It's Jared with Capture the Magic. And to say that there's always something going on when it comes to theme parks usually means that there's new rides, attractions, or things changing in the theme parks. But that's not always the case, as there was seemingly some sort of fire going on by some people who noticed this while they were at Epic Universe. But it seemed like what had happened was some Universal electric buses had caught on fire near Epic Universe. So we're kind of finding this out a couple days later. So see what happened here. We're going to read this article from Blog Mickey. It says, Universal Orlando electric buses catch fire near Epic Universe. It says, according to a report from WESH, 2 buses have caught fire near Epic Universe. According to Orange County Fire Information, a hazardous response call was made around 11 a.m. for an address near Epic Universe, which more than likely, I believe this is the electric bus depot that was built near Epic Universe when they were building Epic Universe itself. It says, as you can see in the screenshot below from the WESH Chopper 2, 2 buses have been severely damaged by a fire. According to Universal, the fire was located in the bus depot. The fire was quickly extinguished and there were no injuries reported. It doesn't appear that the buses were actively in service based on the location listed in the incident call log. And you can see here that those buses are completely gone. One of them looks much smaller. It looks like that was one of the big buses and one of the just kind of the regular size buses. And then this is that depot that I was talking about. It's in January 2025 from BioReconstruct. You can see the electric bus service area, which is located just west of the Stella Nova and Terra Luna Resort hotels. The bus service center is located about half a mile away from the Epic Universe theme park. And Alicia Stella had noticed this. She was at Epic Universe and said something is happening in Dark Universe seemingly, but it was outside of the park. And this is what that looked like on the video. That's a lot of smoke. I mean, you could understand being in the park. That seems like it was coming from the Dark Universe area. Says the statement from Universal says that they are grateful to the Orange County Fire Department for their swift response and that safety remains a top priority in Universal. At this time, it is unknown what caused the fire or if there will be any need to pull any other electric buses from service. And here is a little closer picture of those 2 buses. I mean, those things are... this one's completely charred. I'm guessing the fire probably started with this one and maybe spread its way over here. Because I have a hard time believing that both buses happened to catch on fire at the same time. So more than likely these were parked and somehow a fire broke out. And sometimes it can just happen while they're charging. It is something that can happen with electric vehicles. It's not, if you look statistically, it's not as often it can happen as it does with like a regular, diesel or type of engine that you'd see in more of a traditional car. But whenever you do have an electric vehicle and the battery catches on fire, they call it thermal runaway. And I know a lot about this because I have some family members that have been involved in the fire departments before. And essentially they've told me that whenever that happens, like they're very difficult to put out. You almost have to have certain types of equipment to do it. And many times you kind of have to let these things almost just burn themselves out because even with a bunch of water and things, you really can't do a lot about it. And so obviously in an area like this, in wide open, it's not as big of a deal. But if you were in like a park garage, which a lot of times when these fires break out, they're parked in people's houses if they have like a Tesla or something like that, and these things happen. So the chances of a parked regular, like a gasoline-powered car just randomly catching on fire are very low. And it's still very low for an electric vehicle, but it can happen more in just a situation or where they're charging. But just very glad nobody was hurt. Seemingly these were just parked. But that is a lot of damage to both of those vehicles. Obviously, those both are just completely ruined. I don't know how much each one of those are, but those are not cheap. As those new electric buses that I've ridden on a few times, they're very nice. And one thing that's very weird about it when you get in there, and I didn't notice it until we were kind of halfway, we were going from Stella Nova to the Universal, just regular City Walk campus, is you'll just notice how quiet they are. Usually when you're on a bus, you'll hear like the humming, and we were on there and I was like, this is really quiet. And then you realize like, oh, this is one of those new electric buses. So they're very nice when you're on them. This is also from BioReconstruct. if you're looking like this is obviously Epic Universe here, and that's why it looked like it was happening from Dark Universe, because the electric bus depot is kind of right behind it, although a ways away, but that is the vicinity of where that smoke was coming from. So it makes sense that people thought it was coming from Dark Universe, just because if you're in Celestial Park, it would look like it's coming from inside there, but it was quite a ways away, kind of closer over here to, I think this is Terra Luna that is right here. That's kind of where it was closer to. I mean, I suppose on some level, you know, it could have, some people could have thought it's a new effect for Dark Universe, maybe some new smoke show, but that was not the case here. And, you know, I don't know if it's going to be something that Universal has to look at in terms of safety protocol. But like I said, generally speaking, electric vehicles are not as much of a fire risk as traditional ones. I actually looked this up. And it says some studies show consistently that EVs have a lower fire incident rate compared to internal combustion engines. It says one study found 25 EV fires per 100,000 vehicles sold compared to 1,500 gasoline vehicles, the same amount that were sold. And they also talk about whenever there is fires with these, they are particularly challenging because you almost have to have specialized techniques and equipment to do so, which I'm assuming the fire departments many times do now, given that there's more electric cars on the road now than there used to be for sure. And of course, due to the batteries, there is the potential risk if people are around it. You've got the release of a lot of harmful chemicals, heavy metals, carbon monoxide, all that stuff that can happen. And when you're talking about what could be the causes of this, which obviously we don't know, so this is just speculation off of just doing a little research here, they can be caused by a variety of factors, including manufacturing defects, damage from accidents, overcharging, or extreme temperatures, which it has been very, very hot in Florida. I think the last few days for the parks, there's been a heat advisory as the heat index was saying it feels like 112 degrees. So it could have been in a situation where they were overcharged. It's very hot, and that could have caused this. So heat very well could have played a role in this. We don't know that, but just looking at the heat index the last few days, how hot it's been, that could have been something that led to this, but we won't know that until they do an investigation, I'm sure, and if they release those findings. But as of now, this is all just speculation on what could have caused it. So it's not a very common thing that happens, but it can happen. You know, this is maybe perhaps, if you look at this area, this is one reason why they're not really parked in a garage area. They're parked outside, I think, when they charge. That's probably one of the reasons as to why they do that, because of an incident like this. And instead of, you know, if this would have taken place in a parked garage, I mean, you can just imagine not only the structural damage to wherever they're being stored, but potentially being spread to other buses in the same area. So I'm sure Universal will look at it, and if there's any mistakes that were made, rectify those. But more than likely, it seems like this may have just been a freak little accident that happened. But I don't think that the electric buses are unsafe or anything of that nature. But, you know, I suppose if you're on a bus and one starts smoking, I'm sure the bus driver will stop until you get out so that you don't have a, you know, potentially bad incident here. But, you know, unless we see another one of these happen or something along those lines, I don't think this would be anything to really worry about in terms of if you're going to Universal or taking one of these buses. But like I said, when we've ridden them, they've been nice. They're new. They're clean. They're quiet. So just glad nobody was hurt. And obviously a couple of buses were destroyed here. And I don't think this has impacted anything with Universal's bus transportation system in terms of buses available, buses being able to, you know, be able to be used if you're waiting on buses longer. I haven't heard anything about that. So this hopefully should say one-off thing here. But if you were wondering if you saw some of the smoke that was happening at Epic Universe, that was the reason as to why. So it wasn't anything inside of Epic Universe. I know a lot of people thought that at first, but this was just a couple of buses in the bus depot, a little bit away from Epic Universe. But if any new information is available about this, as to the cause or if there's anything going on here, I will let you guys know about it on here as I learn about it. But for now, that is going to be it, though, for this video. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel as we do all this coverage here of Universal Studios, Epic Universe, Disney World, and pop culture. And let us know in the comments, what do you think about all this? And until next time, we will see you in the parks.